Airstream song, cruising to the campsite singing our song. Airstream song, we are the Airstream nerds.
This is Jeff from Airstream Nerds. My next project is going to be replacing the table leg for our table here in the living area. I don't like the leg. I don't like the leg. The fact that the leg flips up. It won't get out of its own way. So if you flip up the leg, you have to have nothing there. And I want to be able to put the box with my grill in there for travel, and I can't do it without a lot of effort. So what I did is I bought a leg, and I'll go over that in a minute, that actually just stays, it's a permanent leg, gets bolted to the floor, and then the pole comes out of the way. So first thing I did, obviously you should level your camper. Once you have the camper leveled, level the table, figure out the height. So what I used, so I just took I had a scrap piece of wood from somewhere. I leveled my table up, I clamped the wood together so I got the exact height that I would need. Yeah, I know I could use a tape measure, and I could have easily just measured it, but I'm trying to do this one-handed. Hold the table level, shim it up underneath. I just shimmed it under here, held it level, put my two pieces of wood in there. Now I can take them into the shop, and I got the exact height that I want, and I can just measure off of that. So let's go take a look at what I bought to replace this leg. So my recent trip to Florida, we stopped by a Camping World, which we don't have in our area. And while at Camping World, I found one of these legs. At the time, I didn't have a measurement of what our camper was. Our camper was getting the solar work done. But we got the idea by opening the box that this could be a solution to my problem. So when I got back, I went online. I researched and found what I had found at Camping World, and found that they had different sizes and such. So I went online to my normal place, Amazon. They did sell them, but they didn't sell all the pieces. So I found this another company, RV Plus, and I managed to order the top plate, the bottom plate, and the leg from them. But they didn't sell the little cap, like the dust cap. I had to actually get that from the Camping World website. And what that does, this piece gets bolted to the floor, and if you're not using the table leg, it just keeps crap from getting inside of it. Dog hair, keeps the dogs, if they walk, they don't have to worry about their claws getting caught or anything like that. How this works is simple. The bottom of the base has this 3 locking mechanism. It sets in, it turns and locks in place real easy, and then this thing snugs it down. The top, same thing, only it just snaps in place. You've got this little tab that snaps in place on the little ring in here, if you can see it. So essentially you bolt this on the underside of the table, you bolt this to the floor, and you just snap everything together. The problem is the height of our table leveled and the available length that I could purchase aren't the same. So I'm off a couple of inches. They do offer a 27-inch. I bought the 29.5. 27 was too short by a lot. 29.5 is too tall by a little bit. It's kind of like the Goldilocks syndrome. But I looked in here, I looked down through the hole from the other end with a flashlight, and I was able to see a bunch of hot glue in there. So it looks like I'm just going to have to drill out a rivet, heat this up. I'm going to try a heat gun. I don't want to scratch the finish up by hammering this and knock it loose. But I'm just going to try to heat it up with a heat gun and then pull the whole thing off with the glue soft. Then I'll cut it down to the correct height, that I need, re-drill another hole down here wherever it is, rivet this piece back on. This is the snap that locks it in place on that ring. Works pretty good, it's pretty solid. So I'm going to try to take it apart next, and I'll let you know how it went. Alright, so I got it off. As you can see, there's the big pile of hot glue that I saw inside the pipe. I heated it up, still pretty warm. It took maybe 5 minutes of spinning the pipe round and round, holding it. Make sure you wear gloves. I had just some leatherwork gloves on. And then, as I knew it was getting warm, I took a plastic hammer and I tapped around it as I was rotating it, and it came off. No issues, didn't crack it, nothing. It's cooling down a little bit. So now I'm going to, it should be able to go back and on and off pretty easy until I glue it back on. So I know how much I need to cut. I'm going to snap the whole thing together, and I'm going to measure the full height based on this. And let me get it together and I'll be right back. Alright, so I got the device together. An overall height from the bottom of the table to the floor is 29 7/8. What I actually need for my particular Flying Cloud model Airstream is 29 3/8 from the floor to the bottom of the table. So that means I got to take this back apart, and I needed to cut a 1/2 inch off of this and drop this rivet down a 1/2 inch. Now, all the rivet does on this is hold the tab in that allows you to, it's like a snap. You don't push it in to release it. It's just a friction-based deal. So it snaps into that ring, and if you pull, it snaps right apart. So I put it on the floor here. Try to do this one-handed here. It's hard to do one-handed. But anyway, trust me, it pops loose without having to push the tab. So I'm going to take it back apart, cut a 1/2 inch off, drill the rivet out, drill the new rivet back in, and see how everything works. And for those of you that may have never drilled out a rivet, pretty simple. Just got a drill bit that's slightly bigger than the hole. Of course, I've already done it. Tabs there. Just drilled a little bit. The way the rivet works, it's just a shaft, a metal shaft of some kind that goes down through there with like a pin tip on the other end. You drill the hole out to fit the rivet, and then when you use the rivet tool to crimp it, it pulls the fat edge up into the soft aluminum rivet until it can't pull it anymore, which tightens it in the hole, and then it snaps the shaft off when it gets to a certain amount of pressure. So all I really needed to do was just drill through the aluminum lightly. I didn't want to drill a lot. I didn't want to make the hole bigger. Just drill through the aluminum lightly until the head was off, and then everything just falls apart. So I can still use this again. I'm just going to drill the hole 1/2 inch down and rivet it back on. First, I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch off of this. All right, I'm sure there's an easier way to mark a 1/2 inch on here, but I use combination square and a pen. If you notice on the combination square, you can adjust and lock at a 1/2 inch, and then on the other side there's this little notch. Makes it real easy when you're holding this here and you set the pin on that notch and you just rotate the thing around while the pin's in the notch, and it puts a nice even line all the way across. You can't even see where the two ends meet real easy. So I know it's even. Now I'm going to cut this off. I might just pull out my miter box, and since it's aluminum, it'll cut real nice, and that way it'll be nice and straight. Be right back when it's done. Alright, so I have the second hole for moving this bracket down. I've got it cut. Now ordinarily I'd tell you to file it smooth, but I like it a little rough there. It'll just give it a little bit better adhesion when you put the top on. Got the glue gun heating up with some heavy duty glue just so I can repeat the process If you haven't riveted before, it's pretty simple. You have the rivet, put the metal between the rivet head and the hole, put the whole stuff into the hole, get your rivet gun, line up the bracket where you want it. We want it right there. You can still move it a little bit when it's done. And then you just squeeze the rivet gun till it pops. When it pops, it's just breaking the pin. Like I said, pretty simple. The existing hole is gone. It's just the one that's just underneath, so I don't have a whole random hole in here. The cap would cover it anyway. So now I'm gonna let this heat gun glue warm up a little bit, put the top back on and go do it. So here's what I'm afraid was gonna happen. Putting the cap back on, cracked it. I guess it's like hard plastic, so I imagine that maybe it could have had a defect. I don't know. It just cracked when I popped it on. The pipe's not tapered. Not sure why. It still snaps into the top, goes right in, no problem. What I did is I took a nail set and I flattened this out a little bit so the snaps wasn't so hard to pop in. But it goes together just fine. 99% of the time it's going to be all attached, so it doesn't matter if this is cracked. I'm not stressing on it. It shouldn't make any difference in the long run. I may reach out to the company and see if I can't get a replacement cap and swap it out later. Anyway, I've got it cut. I got the right length. I'm going to go ahead and get the hardware on the camper. Okay, so I got the table out. Easiest way is to set the table down, move your cushions, and crawl underneath of there and take one of the brackets out. Once you take the one bracket out, you'll see that the rod slides out of here from the other bracket, so you only have to take one off. While I was under there, I found that my subwoofer had broken loose from the crappy little black brackets. So it's a good thing I planned on taking it out anyway. So I've taken the old bracket off, taken the 4 screws out. I've drawn a center line, which turns out it's perfect with the center line that the factory put there, with the little mark there. Now I'm going to mount my bracket on the center line with the 2 screws. I just got to find a handful of screws countersunk screws this long and do it. Alright, now I got the base, or the top plate installed on the bottom of the table. So I'm going to reverse the process and put this back in, and then I'll show you how I'm going to line up the bottom plate. Alright, here we go. Pretty simple project. I don't know, about $75 worth of parts, something like that. I like it. This thing here will tighten down. Makes it so it doesn't accidentally wobble loose. It snaps in up here. Looks like I showed you. I don't know if anybody else had the issue. The leg was wobbly, so you couldn't pick yourself off the floor by leaning on it. It seemed to always sit at an angle. I don't know if the little adjusting screw on the bottom of the old leg stripped or something. Sitting in the chair. Sitting at the table seems like it's much nicer. The table's not so freaking flimsy. If you're sitting under here and Jenny's over there and I kick the leg because we're playing cards or something, I go to turn, I hit the leg, the table will always shake. I mean, this is the way it should have been done to begin with. Comments leave below. This is Jeff from Airstream Nerds. See you on the next trip.